So because this, it talks about academic writing, my first question or my first activity, and you can do this during the presentation, if you have a computer, is answer this question. The question is, what is the difficulty that you have in writing in English? Okay, so if you click that link, that will take you to this answer garden, and then you type here your answer. You type and you submit. That's all you have to do. Okay, you can do that during the presentation. And now let me go back to the presentation. Okay. Pitfalls in academic writing.
Yes.
What is the objective of this presentation? It doesn't want to move. Hmm? What is the problem? Okay, let's do it. Let me see. Okay, pitfalls in academic writing. So my objective is to scaffold academic writing according to the students' needs. So we are all teachers. So for the teachers, for the students that want to become teachers, this is for you. Okay, so academic participation. Where can I participate with all this academic writing? So you can participate writing articles, like writing articles, reporting research. You can write academic essays and in journals, in academic journals. You can participate in conferences like this. For all presenters, we have to send an abstract of what we are going to present. You can participate in panels with other colleagues. You can write book chapters, presenting your research. You can write books. You can be a reviewer. So if you have the skills, the academic writing skills, then you can also review papers. You are invited. Once you start publishing, then you are invited to review papers. You can be the member of scientific committees. Once you start publishing, they will call you to evaluate the different abstracts that in the different congresses they receive. You can also volunteer in international associations like TESOL. I am a TESOLer. I've been involved in TESOL since 2011, and I have always volunteered in that association. I have been volunteering on campus, but also online in the different chairs, in the different councils. So I know the heads of the TESOL, and I have learned tons. I have learned lots. So you are very welcome to go to their webpage, start looking at the resources. They have multiple resources for everyone. And you can also volunteer. You don't have, there is a membership that you have to pay, but for us, it's just $35, I think. And with that, you can volunteer and you learn. Like you share your knowledge and you learn. You learn also from that collaboration. I have learned tons. So why academic writing? Academic writing, when we write, we have to be accurate. Okay, so why? Because there is a high correlation between accuracy and the quality of the document or the quality of the presentation. If we don't write properly or accurately, then the people evaluating our paper, they are not going to consider our presentation. They are not going to consider our article. And they will reject because of that. Or you will have, the content can be great. So in that case, you have to pay somebody so you can, like, they can make all these corrections. In academic writing, we have to observe guidelines. We cannot write the way that we were taught. There, in all these congresses, in all these journals, they have a template, they have guidelines. They tell you, okay, double space, the left margin these centimeters, the right margin these centimeters, the title is bold, capital title case, lowercase, sentence case. It's you have to follow their guidelines. If you don't follow the guidelines, they won't pay attention to your paper. So in the classroom, you have to observe the guidelines provided by the teacher, and the teacher have to have the clear picture of what you are asking for in your essays or in your writing tasks. Clarity is important, meaning that the reader needs to understand what you are saying and keep it simple. Writing academically doesn't mean that you write for nobody. Actually, it's the opposite. You write for everyone to read your paper. It has to be simple and understandable. And this is also a standard from the magazines. You know, the magazines are classified into different groups, Latindex, Scopus, Web of Science, and they are great. They are grading the magazines also because of that, for the clarity of the articles that they receive. So it is important. And meet deadlines. So we have to, if it is October 30, it has to be October 30. Okay, we have to meet deadlines. If you don't meet the deadlines, you have to be a well-known author like Krashen, so they can wait for your paper. Okay, but otherwise, no, they won't wait for your paper. Well, it can also happen that the journals or the magazines or the books, the editorials, they need chapters or they need documents. So in that case, they wait for your paper, but still they don't, the extension is not that long, okay? So we have to meet the deadlines. Okay, and then academic writing is taught in higher education settings, especially, though I think that this should start in high school. And I have classified the different issues of academic writing into two main topics. Issues related to writing, like lack of clarity, bias. When do you have a problem of bias? When you add too many adjectives in your document. So, for example, this paper is important. Well, it can be important for you, but not for the reader. So it you are saying your opinion. We don't have to say our own opinion. We have to provide the evidence. We have to say the facts. So be careful, reduce adjectives. Actually, do not add adjectives. Surface features of the language. And when they say, when they mention these surface features of the language, they are talking about grammar, syntax, punctuation, spelling. So those are issues in writing. Now, the content. And the main problem that I see is following or observing ethical considerations. When you conduct research, it has to be original, meaning that it is done by you and it has been actually, you have collected some information that you are sharing with the others. In that collection of information, it has to be transparent. So you need to ask for the consent of everyone working or participating in your study. So ethical considerations, you cannot publish pictures unless you have the authorization, but still, I don't think it is necessary to publish pictures, especially of children. If you want to publish in a picture, you can put the happy face and the faces of the children, so we don't see the faces of the children. We have to be careful with that, especially with social media, try not to publish pictures of your kids. So though there are a lot more other ethical considerations that we have to follow. For example, the use of artificial intelligence, it is a topic of discussion in ethical considerations. So this is a broad topic. There are several organizations I can share where you can read more about these ethical considerations. There are committees in the different universities where they check if the researchers are following what they have to do when you conduct research. So it is not easy. You have to gain experience. You have to probably work with your teacher because the teacher knows more, right, in this process. So try to get to know all these considerations that we have to observe. Other examples are reliability and validity of the information that we are sharing. Other pitfalls in writing is stating the gaps. What has not been researched yet that I am, filling that gap. So for that, you have to read a lot and then you have to compare and contrast. Okay, this author, this reading and use skimming and scanning. This author use question and answers for reading. This author use literature circles for reading. Okay. And all this research has been done in probably in India, in France, in Spain, in the United States, but not in Ecuador. So there is a gap of research in Ecuador. Okay, so, but for that, you have to read. Other gaps are the methodology. Probably one study was only done quantitatively, another was done only qualitatively. So my study will be a mix. And that is what I ask my students to do, that mix, because the numbers say something, but the narration tells you like what happened with the numbers. So they complement each other. Okay, the thesis statement, like my topic, what is it that I want to research? The methodology is another chapter, and we need to be sure, okay, is this an action research? Is this a mixed study? It is an experimental, is it a quasi-experimental study? So there are different terms that we need to get to know. And then the discussion, that is adding, comparing and contrasting the authors that I introduce in my literature review to my results. So the results are similar, are different. Why are they similar? Why are they different? You are the only one that can explain that. And the conclusions that state like what confirm or include new novel information, the novelty, something new that happened and that you found in your study. Now, the use of artificial intelligence in writing. We have to use artificial intelligence. It is there. We need to use it, because if not, other people that use it will take our positions. We have to be transparent. That means if you use it, say I use artificial intelligence to generate this document. You cannot copy and paste. Why? Because it hallucinates. It is the information. Some of the information is not reliable. So then we have to study, because we are the experts. We know what is reliable, what is not reliable, what is valid, what is not valid. So if you ask me, you can use artificial intelligence for simple tasks, but not for researching, because it can provide information that is not accurate. And if you are writing, if you are sharing information that is not accurate, then all the people will come against you. And that's terrible. That will say a lot from you. So, and the ethical consideration also, teach your students that they cannot copy and paste. I always encourage my students to use artificial intelligence to get ideas, to generate ideas, to ignite their creativity, but not to write the paper. Do not use it for check for checking your grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes, because if you're, for example, I have a paper and I upload the paper to Perplexity AI or ChatGPT or any other artificial intelligence application, and I say, okay, please correct the grammar mistakes of this document. Then when I send my paper for publication, they will say this document was generated by AI. Why? Because I did that. So be careful. Be careful with that practice. If you do that, then you will have a high percentage of content generated by artificial intelligence, even if it was generated by you. So you need to know how to use artificial intelligence. Now, I'm going to provide some examples of the pitfalls in academic writing that, well, these are very few examples. There are other examples. There are a lot more. Okay, remember that before I mentioned we have to follow guidelines, okay? And our guidelines are according to APA style. So according to APA, this has a format. Okay, this also has a format. This should be in italics. These decimals also, you cannot add 4, but 2. Well, that also depends in the journals, but usually it's only 2. And then look at the content. The data for this question was analyzed qualitatively. Okay, where is the narration? Where is the qualitative data? I only see quantitative data. Okay, so you see there is no coherence of the table and what you're saying in your paragraph. And then in Excel, by taking a pre and post test table 2. So, okay, sentences, the structure of your sentence, subject, verb, complement. Okay, the data was analyzed quantitatively, and you can say the scores were taken from the pre and the post test, and they are shown on table 2. The statistical description shows a significant difference between the pre-test, and then this is what I say. If you are writing all this information here, then why do we have the information in the table? We don't have to be repetitive. Here in your paragraph, call the attention of explain the table, but do not repeat information. That is something that you don't have to do. You have to decide either you keep this information here or you keep the table, but not both. Okay, so those are basic items, but remember, there is a correlation between the way that you write and the quality of your paper or the quality of your presentation. So here there are more examples. Rasigi, in his book about social and psychological factors, you don't have to name the source. You don't have to write the title of the source, because the title of the source is written in the reference list. Just here, keep the last name of the author and add the year of the author, which is not here. Another mistake here is add the authors in the reference list. So I check all the authors, there is a correlation. All the authors that you mentioned in your document must be in the reference list, and the opposite. All the authors in the reference list must be cited in the document. If something happens there, that is a mistake, that is a pitfall. This is not necessary, and all the verbs after authors in past tense, that's according to APA. And this is not clear, please describe better. So remember, clarity in your writing. Keep it simple and understandable. Another thing that you have to pay attention is the use of the resources. It has to be a balance between new resources, like from the past 5 years, and old resources. Like that depends also on the journal. Some say 50-50, so 50 new, 50 old. And for some other journals, it's 70 new and 30 old. And so you have to pay attention to that according to the guidelines. Again, no need to write the title of the book. And in the reference list here, for example, that's another mistake. Here you have one author, but in the reference list, there are two authors. So if you have two authors, you have to add both of them here. Okay. And this is another headache for the students. Some students create this using Word, some other create using any other program, but remember that those programs are always updating. And there is a new APA edition, I think from 2 years ago. So, but sometimes the programs are not updated and this information is not correct. And remember that we have to be accurate here. So my suggestion is you have to do it like one by one and checking that you have all the components of each of these authors. Okay, for example, here I can see this is missing the identification of the journal or the link if it doesn't have this identification, this identification number. Here you don't need to write volume. I mean, this is not correct. This is the format. And the first number is in italics. You don't need the two initials. One is fine. And this title, when it is a book, it's in italics. The same here. Here it's missing the Dewey. And okay, so journal, for example, this off is not in capital letters. And the name of the journal is always in italics. So those are little issues, let's say, but these editorials and reviewers, they pay attention to that. And if you have, remember again, there is a high correlation of how accurate you are in your writing and the quality of your presentation. So we better pay attention to all of this. Okay. Recommendations. Feedback is important. As you noticed before, all of these papers come like this, and I send all these papers with all this feedback. Feedback is important. It has to be on time. We cannot provide feedback, like delayed feedback, because it won't work. It has to be according to the standards. So if you see all of this feedback is related to the guidelines that the students have received. And students have to do it again, because if they don't do it again, the paper won't be approved and they won't have their dissertation. So they have to work on their paper till it is acceptable. Allow students to follow the writing process in your classes. I know it is difficult. I know we have many students, but when will they learn? We have to provide spaces in our classes to follow the writing process. And the writing process is draft, a correction, or next draft 1, 2, 3, final paper, final product. So it's the process. If you ask for the final product, then students would use any artificial intelligence, and this is the product. So Let's be careful and please tell your students not to do that. It's not a correct practice. Include academic writing and readings in your classes so students are used to it. The more they read, the better they get used to them. The more they read, the better they know the process and the content that they have to include in these papers. Make students issues visible. That means make visible their learning, make visible their mistakes, and be open to mistakes. Tell students that it's okay to make mistakes. So you know how to assist your students better. If you don't know the problems, then you don't know how to help them. Now, peer assessment and self-assessment, this is a project that we have been doing in Casa Grande 3 years ago, I think. And we have learned lots with the self-assessment and the peer assessment. It is a process. What we have learned is that at the beginning levels of English, it is better to self-assess. In higher levels, they can peer assess, but it is difficult because I have asked my master students to peer assess, and they say we don't have the skills. And they say, wow, but you are teachers and you have corrected so many writings from your students. Yes, but this is different. And I said, well, just focus on like the surface of the language, like grammar, spelling, punctuation. But no, they didn't. Like they didn't feel they had the skills to do it, and I was really surprised about that. In order to peer assess or self-assess, we need to create a checklist for students. It is easier for them to use a checklist, a list of, okay, done, not done, okay, but what will I do so I get it next time? You can use a rubric. For you, that is clear and specific. Do not use artificial intelligence to create your rubric because the rubrics and the checklist have to be specific to the task that you are assigning. If you look for, or if you ask artificial intelligence to create a rubric, it will provide some components that maybe you know, maybe you don't know. It will be difficult for you, then you have to correct. But anyways, if you still want to do it, we have to validate the information, okay? And we have to know the information that we are providing our students. Make authentic tasks. Have students to start with book reviews, publish them online, but make writing authentic. And I am a fan of reading, so read, and read. It will help you in your writing. And because here we have students and also teachers, I would like to finish by motivating you to follow these steps to achieve your goals. So first, take action. If you are sitting them waiting or just being a recipient, then nothing will happen. So take action. Try hard. It is not easy. Keep practicing. Explore different ways. Attend different congresses. Ask someone for advice. Do not feel afraid. We are very happy to help. Do your best always. Learn how others did it. In this of research, we are learning, okay, how the other authors conducted this research. In their paper, they say, first we did this, then we did this, and these are the instruments, and you have all the example. So learn how others did it till you feel like you can do it. Build upon your strengths, identify your strengths and also your weaknesses so you can work on them. Review and fix mistakes. Yeah, mistakes are for learning. Always keep that in mind. They are for learning. And don't give up. Okay. I know I had some space for questions, and I hope that you really take this opportunity to ask. And let me see if you have answered. Oh, nobody has answered the answer garden. Too bad. You're not using your computers.
Okay.
I will post it again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rossana, for sharing the information. Your topic was very important and interesting, and it will be benefit for the teachers and students. Is there any student who wants to ask a question? Do it, please. Yes.
Miss Rossana, could you refresh the page because there are some answers there that you need to refresh?
Oh, yes, you're right. You are right. Yes. Okay. Let's see from your feedback. Correcting mistakes after the fact. Correcting mistakes after the fact. Okay. Probably you don't know the mistakes or you don't know what mistakes you are making. I don't understand. I don't get this one. I don't have a lot of words in English. Okay. Yeah. For that, read. Read books that you like. If you like, I mean, it depends on what you like, something that interests you. When you read actually in English, you have it is more extensive, the different topics. You have different ideas in English. I mean, you don't know how much you will gain using English, learning English. So I encourage you to pursue in that task. Find the words to sound like a scholar. You don't have to sound like a scholar. Again, simple and understandable. That's all you need. Simple and understandable. Idiomatic expressions, simple and understandable. If you use idiomatic expressions, then probably only the people that know the same idiomatic expressions will read your paper. Remember, we write for everyone, not just for certain people. So simple and understandable. Creativity for starting to write, the creativity comes when you read. Okay, so you read papers, you have an idea. You read another paper, you have another idea. So more ideas, more reading. The connectors, okay, the connectors. Yes, that is something very important. Transition words, so you guide the readers in your paper. Okay, nothing, you don't have citation. Yes, of course. Yeah, I show some examples. Natural word order. Okay, how to size a topic. This is an interesting one. Okay, let me share the different topics that you can research from. Okay, so here you have different topics. You can, in education, you can talk about learner characteristics, that you can identify what are the learner characteristics, and then according to that, plan your classes. You can focus on the content of the books, like is it appropriate for our context? The skills, different skills, like these are some examples. Learning support, do students have support? Okay, if they don't, then it's time for us to begin researching about this. Resources, I think there was a presentation about technology before, but there are other resources. Assessment, okay, so more topics. Here, go to UNESCO agenda, and they have a lot of topics. Also, the Ministry of Education, they have a research agenda, and they have classified the different problems into cognitive, affective, behavior, and motor skills, academic skills, sensory disabilities. So all of those are topics that you can start talking about. Is there or are there papers about violence, drug consumption? I haven't seen. Probably there are, but you can also talk about this. And with this, we are helping others. We are helping our students. We are helping the community to reduce those. And well, this is the research agenda of the Ministry of Education. Let me see what else you have. So topics, there is a variety of topics. Express ideas clearly and easily. Okay, fluency comes with practice. So start writing. If you start, how to write without using AI? Well, you have to start doing it. What you can do is, okay, you can use AI, but what you can do is write your paper and then write the same prompt in the AI and then compare. That will help you to improve your writing. Is to use academic words, not only be. Okay, now I don't understand that idea. Okay.
Okay,
Are
thank you
there
very
other
much.
questions? Thank you for that. I
Ramírez.
refresh. Thanks for your participation.
Thank you very much for being here, Doctora Rossana. It's a pleasure for us. If some students, if any students ask another question, please. Just a moment.
Well, the question is, oh, Sabrina, you have a question?
Yes, and I would like to know about your experience. What were your pitfalls in academic writing when you started to write?
Okay, my main issues when I started to write was that
70 años de historia y de aporte a la academia de la provincia y el país,
the order
con una identidad que nos define, nos conecta con nuestras
the
raíces
ethical
y
considerations. I think I conducted research and I didn't harm anyone, but I needed to ask for the consent. But that was 20 years ago. And then you have to get involved with in. I think TISO will help a lot, and it's $30 for the membership, but you will gain a lot. And if you don't want to become a member or volunteer, you can just go to the website. It's free, and there are a lot of resources. Sophia, you have a question?
Yes. So I have noticed that a lot of problems come because when we try to write in English, sometimes we don't even know how to write in Spanish. So there is that lack of education. And honestly, being a student, I have noticed it when I was, for example, studying first to third year of bachelor. There was not a lot of emphasis on letting us write our own text and stories and essays. And I think when I came to university, that there was this hole of knowledge for me, which has been very difficult. And now, as a teacher, I feel like I am seeing the same pattern, and I don't know how to start to teach my students how to write in English when they have that deficit of to write in their own language. Do you have any tips on that?
Yes, for sure. You can start brainstorming ideas. So that is the most well. Okay. First, they need input. Okay, the input from listening, from watching videos, from reading, and then they have some ideas. So brainstorm ideas, and then but in the brainstorming, they may have like what they have to do is narrow that brainstorming. Okay, you have 20 topics. Now let's focus on 3. Okay, because you cannot write a you cannot write a paragraph, for example, in the paragraph writing the 20 topics. That is not correct. In the paragraph, you develop one idea. In the first paragraph, also you tell the reader, okay, what is my next, or what are my next paragraph about? So in the introduction paragraph, you describe what the reader is going to see later. And in the conclusion paragraph, you repeat what you talk about. So introduction, development of idea one, development of you have two ideas, it's fine. Connectors are important. They help it makes the reading flow. Always have a real, it is not authentic, then it is not motivating for me. I hope those ideas are so during that year at least once a month, not final product, the revising, editing, and
Thank you.
final paper.
Doctora Rossana.
Thanks for the
Welcome. Thank you. Ponente. Vermelho.
Si yo estoy sentada en este momento, puede ser que en realidad mi cara esté suplantada por la inteligencia artificial. Entonces tenemos que ser más quirúrgicos probablemente al momento de detectarlo. Y esto, bueno, en gran medida en Ecuador ya tenemos 3 portales de chequeo, que es Ecuador Verifica, Ecuador Chequea y Lupa Media, que recientemente se ha instaurado en nuestro país para combatir la desinformación. Si nos damos cuenta, podemos en algún momento hacer este tipo de deepfakes y cada vez y cuando hay herramientas gratuitas y de pago que se van perfeccionando en este quehacer. De hecho, no solamente podríamos hablar de deepfake, sino también de las voces y textos sintéticos. Por ejemplo, en este caso, yo tengo aquí en esta presentación un audio, que me permiten colocarlo en compartir sonido, y aquí podemos escuchar en este instante una voz sintética.
Saludos a la UTM y felicidades a quienes realizan la 8ª Convención Científica Internacional.
Perfecto. Esta voz sintética aún es reconocible por el ser humano porque tiene ciertas pautas y ciertos quizás dejes al momento de pronunciarlo. Pero poco a poco se va acercando más a esa cualidad humana del hablar. Lo mismo pasaría con los textos sintéticos. Yo sé